Cross set to tie. Snap is high, kick is up, kick is wide left.
Same as last time.
And the Marauders win it.
Wade, we are back for, what is it now, week 8?
Week 9.
Week 9.
The penultimate week
of the OUA season. Just want to say off the top here quickly, apologies for last week. We ran into a bit of a technological hiccup, to say the least, and we were unable to get the episode out because of that on Friday. So for all of those who are anticipating, waiting eagerly by their laptops, as I know you all were, to see our ugly mugs on the OUA show, we were not able to get that up, and that is largely my fault. So I'm going to take the full blame for that. But nonetheless, hope everybody had a wonderful holiday weekend. And Wade, Friday night, there was a platter of OUA games to feast on, and boy, were they delicious. We are going to start with the marquee matchup, the Laurier Golden Hawks taking on the Windsor Lancers in Windsor. Laurier coming away with a 33-26 win, but Wade, they had to work for it. They kind of stalled out there in the fourth quarter. Windsor back to catching some lucky special teams breaks as well in this game.
Yeah, I'd say so, but more importantly, Connor, the special teams plays balance themselves out because where we had the fumble on the kick return that kind of let Windsor get a lead, Laurier comes down, scores right away, does like a moonshot, not even an onside, just like a mid-left kick, and they come down with the ball, and all of a sudden, Taylor Elgersma, whoa, there's the ball again, and then it was a quick turn of events. So this Laurier team, really, that 3 touchdown section was pretty impressive, and they hit a punt in the middle. But yeah, no, I mean the field goal attempt from Windsor, you know, the defense kind of held themselves together after the turnover, but it turned into Laurier, and I had tweeted this out that their end of half scenario, Connor, was aggressive but calculated, precise. Like, we're going to run the ball a bit. It's not just going to be one-dimensional, throw the ball, but it was timed, it was strategic. They used a variety of passes, a lot of different concepts. And when they worked down that field for their last couple scores, it was an 8-play drive, Connor, that took them 1 minute and 5 seconds. So they left it with next to no time on the clock. The momentum was completely swung, and it went right from there to, okay, we can kind of put it in cruise control. They didn't really want to, but after that eruption in the second quarter, it was clear that Windsor's offense was not going to be getting much done on the day, and the Laurier offense had kind of done all they needed to, right? Like we said, it would be that race to, well, we usually say 20 points, but it really was that race to 20 points. And once they hit that third touchdown, they're already at 24. They can kind of cruise for the rest of the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a large chunk of that's coming in off of that really hot second quarter, and they looked really good. And I thought that, you know, they were going to burst. And I'm sitting there thinking, going into the second half of this game, like, Laurier is about to do something with this second half here.
Mm-hmm. Especially because they got the ball out of the half too. Like, you felt like this could be a 4-touchdown swing.
Kind of a repeat of last week, right? Like, and where they came with that.
Yeah.
But the thing I really want to talk about here with Laurier, it kind of comes outside of the points, and it's what they were able to do late in the game when they needed to grind some clock. They were able to do that. They put a 6-play, 40-yard, almost 4-minute drive, you know, a little bit later in this game, and then they come back with an 8-play, 43-yard, 3.5-minute drive here, and you're chomping away a significant amount of clock. That's almost 7 minutes of clock here in the fourth quarter, and that's important because, yeah, Windsor was able to put some points up here, but when they needed clock late in the fourth quarter, they just kind of didn't have enough to be able to get something going, and that was largely due to Laurier's defense. Credit where credit is due. It's a damn good unit, but the run game and the grinding clock ability of the Laurier offense late in this game.
Yeah, and I think, Connor, when we talk about that, Windsor needing the offense, and this is something that we've touched on all season long, is when they need that offense, when they need those passing downs, those passing scenarios like an end of half where they're trying to keep up and put up points and just not be satisfied with, hey, they've got all the momentum, but we have the ball, let's get to half with the lead. They're trying to make something happen. Skelton goes just over 50%, like 52% completions here, 140 yards. Of course, he had 2 rushing touchdowns, but Connor, when they need to kill those big swings, like 2-minute drives or 3-minute scenarios to end a half or game, they just can't get it done through the air. And I don't know if that's like, I don't think it's a lack of talent, because Joey Zorn's great out of the backfield, and Giovanni Cunningham and Tanner Getty's had a big game.
Yeah, we'll see what they're made of as we move into the postseason. They're certainly going to find themselves playing in the later weeks here. I'm curious to see how they are going to play, but let's move on here because we have an exciting overtime game that did happen between the McMaster Marauders and the Waterloo Warriors. With less than 2 minutes left in this game, Nolan Caban rips one for an 11-yard touchdown to tie it up and force overtime. McMaster's Michael Horvat with a 20-yard field goal to seal the deal. Cole Crossett got a chance, but pushed it wide. McMaster 34-32 in this game. Wade, what do you like? What did you see? Talk to us about this one. Keegan Hall once again doing his thing, 300 in the air, but I think it was the ground game of each of these teams. Quentin Springer, my word, having a day to over 200 on the ground and 2 touchdowns, and Micah Duchesne for McMaster, 157 and a touchdown. Have we had this stat line from a McMaster running back yet this year? I love it.
And Duchesne's a guy that, he's getting his opportunities due to some injuries in the backfield, and more opportunities than he's seen earlier in the year. Same with Springer, as Anthony Miller didn't suit up for this one, but these 2 backs took advantage of it. And with Waterloo, Connor, we knew that they had to rely on that ground game, and so did McMaster. But 35 carries, you just hammer away six carries a pop. And when you get a guy like Nolan Caban who can extend plays, it's not as much about him impacting as a rusher, but that run threat that kind of holds a defender or makes you pause and gives Springer that easy out. And even for Waterloo, like, leading receiver Evan Basiliga is their H-back. So they went full heavy, full, let's push the ball, let's try to get this as heavy as we can, kill the clock. And you really, it was odd to see that in this game, with Waterloo rushing the ball as well as they did, the time of possession being so slanted.
Wade, you talk about Waterloo coming heavy in the run game, and listen to this. Nolan Caban had 15 pass attempts, made the most of it, completed 11 of them for near 150 and 2 touchdowns. Quentin Springer, 35 attempts on the ground, 35 snaps for Quentin Springer on the ground. And they only had, and you hear that and you're like, wow, their time of possession must be like astronomical. No, it was only 28 minutes. Mac actually out TOP'd them with 46 minutes controlling the clock in this one. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that Waterloo ran the ball 35 times and did not lead in time of possession in this one.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned the McMaster. Like, have we had a Mac running back do this? No, we haven't. And this is the McMaster offense that we had hoped to see this year, where, yeah, Keegan Hall's going to get his, and we all know he will, but you need that second piece attached to it. And for this McMaster team, is it too little too late as it comes against the winless Waterloo Warriors with this point in the season? Glad they have found this balance, but will it be enough, and will it come to fruition against the York Lions? We will tee that one up later in the week. But Connor,
I'm looking forward to it.
A couple other games. Let's go to the other side of that one then. The York Lions, who hosted the 6-2 Guelph Griffins. The new coaching staff has officially left their mark, as the Guelph Griffins have tagged all their social media posts cleverly this year. 6-2 after a couple of years of up and down, kind of middling seasons. This offense came to play, and Tristan Aboud, Connor,
Oh
is he
my
one of our
goodness,
favorite
Megan.
quarterbacks in the country or what?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think he has to be. And this game is just insane for Tristan Aboud. 26 attempts, completes 19 of those for 470 yards, 3 touchdowns. No, I did not stutter. 470 yards. 470 yards for Tristan Aboud through the air. Wow.
And not to be left out, Donovan Malloy still gets burnt near 100
Near
yards.
100 yards, yeah.
We can call it 100 total because he did have the one catch, but 94 carries for him. Marshall McCray gets in the end zone. Like, this is a Guelph Griffins team that 6-2, probably going to net them the 3 seed. They're going to get to play against the 6 seed, which could be your Ottawa GG's, Connor. If we're
Very well could be, yeah.
forecasting, I don't know if Ottawa's ready for this Guelph team
I
because
don't know if
there's a
anybody's ready,
lot.
ready for this Guelph team right now.
No, and you look at the teams that have played Ottawa really tough and have given this defense fits. It's with the run game. It was Western, it was Queens, it was Laurier running the ball with Tanner Nelms,
Yeah.
and they're gonna have to go to Guelph and try and contain this monstrosity of an offense. Vashon
Yeah.
Janusa stiff-armed someone, it felt like, into the end of Thanksgiving weekend. But the conversation here might be about the York Lions, even though they lost by 14 points.
Yeah, I mean, in this one, Guelph really turned it on for me, and I think before we started talking about York here, and they did a lot of good things, but just unfortunately in this one, when they by the time they kind of found their groove and started turning it on, it was already 31-19, and they did have most of the fourth quarter here to try to make something happen, just really couldn't do so in the fourth, I found, but Sean Law putting up near 300 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, had the interception, but I'm kind of okay with that. Melchis Alonga had a really good game on the ground, 13 carries for 108 yards, leaving that balanced attack for York. But Avery Ford and Avante McCoy, the 2 main playmakers for Sean Law through the air, almost 100 yards for Ford, and McCoy had 70, both of them having touchdowns. Alonga, who I mentioned in the ground game, put up 40 in the receiving game as well. So this York offense is really dynamic, and they're doing a lot of things well. And I think this is just kind of a young team finding their groove, figuring things out. But man, over this past season, and especially over the past few games for the York Lions, I've loved what I've been seeing. And we're going to preview this one, but just quickly, like, I know you kind of might feel the same here. They got a chance next week to do something. They got a chance next week to do something based on what I saw this week. But what I would love to see kind of improved on here is let's find some scoring in the fourth quarter, make something interesting, and maybe close the game out here, get ourselves in the playoffs. They're playing for something here.
Yeah, and this Sean Law in because of injury initially to Matt Lynn, it provides some stable leadership. There's a guy who has done it at a university level and he beat a Western team, for Christ's sake, when he was at
Yeah.
Guelph. So he has shown the ability to win against high level opponents in this conference. And having a guy like Avery Ford, who's a tall, long receiver who can make big catches, is a help. Having guys like Avante McCoy and Melchis Alunga, who are just A-plus athletes, is a big plus. But credit to Coach Janke and the staff for highlighting the strengths of their players, which is something that maybe previous York regimes haven't been doing or hadn't been doing. But no, like you said, Connor, they're playing for something this week, and we're going to get to that in a couple days' time. But certainly exciting for York in this first year back under this new coaching staff to be a game out from the playoffs. You can't have asked much more than that after the last few seasons.
No, and we talk about Elijah Barnes being one of the stories, certainly one of the player stories in the OUA this year. I think York is one of the biggest team stories in the OUA, certainly, especially as like you said, they're sitting a game out of a playoff spot here, heading into this weekend. But we got one game left in the OUA here. The Western Mustangs picking up a sizable win
Hold
in
on.
the
Stop me if you've heard
6
this one
this
before.
weekend.
Stop
Did you
me
like
if
that
you've
one?
heard this. Yeah,
In the
yeah, yeah.
6, with all the sixes, 61-6.
Uh, Stop me if you've heard this before, but the Western defense made young quarterbacks throw a lot of interceptions. Uh, the four interceptions from U of T in this one. One of them returned for a touchdown by Simon King. Connor, if you're gonna spot Western 4 extra possessions, it's going to be a long night for you. Of course, Mo Jamal gets going, Missouri, Seth Robertson, Dasani McIntosh getting involved. Uh, it was the usual players for Western. Yazbek and Keon just take it easy, rest the legs a little bit, not too high of a usage rate. U of T had the ball for the most part, but I think that's due to the short fields Western was given. Not much to say. Western's clearly angry, but for them, it's all about that Yates Cup and can they get there when it might very well be on the road.
Yeah, man. Not a lot to say on this one for me. Western played darn near perfect football right down to Brian Garrity, who did not miss a kick on the night. 3 of 3 in the field goal game, 7 of 7 on his extra points. Western did what Western does. Defensively, just quickly want to highlight Connor Francisi, who had a really good game. This one, 5.5 total tackles, 2 sacks, 3 TFLs. I mean, 2 of those were on the sacks, but nonetheless, he was one of the dominant forces that was not picking the ball off in the Western defense. He was one of the guys making noise up front, but I thought he had a really good game in this one. So I just wanted to quickly highlight him in this game because he was pretty monstrous on the defensive side of the ball for Western.
Connor, we got a big week of playoff implications coming up.
Certainly.
Toronto on the road to Ottawa. York Mac, of course, we talked about the battle for the 7th seed. Queens hosting Waterloo. Western hosting the Windsor Lancers, which could be a big game. And the Laurier Golden Hawks going all the way to the nation's capital to face off against Elijah Barnes and the Carleton Ravens, who maybe on the outside looking in, they might need a lot of help to get there. But it's exciting for Carleton to certainly be in that spot with a first-year starter like Elijah. So we will be back to tee those ones up. You guys can check out the games that were on OUA.tv. And of course, stay tuned for more content in the OUA and Canadian Football Perspective social media channels.